We're going through the Old Testament, the Ten Commandments. A lot of verses today from the Old Testament. Gonna make Dave happy here this morning. Next week, Dave Sloan's going to give a message on judging. But today we're going to look at the first commandment. Remember, the first commandment was to love God. And Jesus came along. Every commandment is fulfilled in the New Testament. Jesus came along and said, that's the greatest commandment. Loving God with all of your heart. And one of the ways we were challenged to do that was to read and reread his letters to us. And then to talk to him for 5 minutes. So the challenge this past week, the first week, was to read 1 John. This week it was to read 1 Peter, 5 chapters and pray afterwards for 5 minutes. Anybody accomplish this? Cheryl did too. All right, cool. So this week I want to challenge you again. I want you to grow. Jesus said that's the greatest commandment. If you can learn to do that one, all these other ones will just automatically take place. Because when you fall in love with God, all those other ones automatically follow suit. So I want to challenge you this week to read Galatians. But it's 6 chapters this time. So you have to do it Monday through Saturday instead of just Monday through Friday. But Galatians, 6 chapters. Read a chapter a day and then talk to God for 5 minutes. See if your life doesn't change. Okay? Then the second commandment, what I just talked about with giving, was idolatry, which we found out was greed. Now we're going to look at the third one today. Exodus chapter 20, verse 7. This is the third one. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God, for the Lord will not hold anyone guiltless who misuses his name. Okay, I'll leave it up there. We're not to misuse the name of God, and God says anyone that chooses to do that will not be held guiltless. In other words, there's consequences. Now remember what I said. The whole intent of going to church on Sunday, my whole intent of teaching you people, and myself, of teaching myself, is for us to learn how to be better Christians. So that we can be a light in the world. So that when non-believers look at us, they notice something different. Now, many times I golf with 2 other Christian guys, and sometimes they'll put a 4th person with us. And they're not a Christian. And the words that come out of their mouth is what I used to be like before I was a Christian. Everything is F this and God damn and Jesus Christ and all that. And we shouldn't be surprised. I can't sit there and say, hey, I'd rather you didn't say that. It's like, what would you expect from someone that's not a Christian? But for those of us that are Christians, that shouldn't come out of our mouths. If it does, then we're no better than that man that I was just golfing with this past week, that every time he hit the ball, something came out of his mouth. We should be different than that. And so what God is saying is we're not to misuse his name. We're not to misuse the name of God, and that we're not to misuse the name of Jesus. What does that mean? Let's take a look at what this means, okay? Let's go to Exodus chapter 22, verse 28. That's the first one that we're going to look at. Do not blaspheme God or curse the ruler of your people. Don't blaspheme God. Now, that means a whole bunch of different things, okay? It means a whole bunch of different things. It means speaking evil of God, cursing God. It just means profanity in general. Where you use profanity, cursing, swearing. The words that I just told you. Now, I've shared with you before. As Christians, we have to learn how to be more Christ-like. I have to learn that. And I'm proud of it. Before I knew the Lord, it was common. Every time I got mad, a curse word came out of my mouth. And I shared this with you before. I worked with my brothers, and we said the F words a bunch of when we were working in apartments, and people would come in there, we'd be embarrassed, so we started holding one another accountable. Or every time you caught your brother cursing, you had to give a quarter. And we'd all come to work with quarters in our pockets. Because we knew we were going to get caught 10, 12, 15 times that day. Because it just came out without even thinking. Because we weren't Christians. But then when I became a Christian, just like learning to give, I had to learn not to say that. And I've shared this with you before too. When I first started working with youth, I would be given a message and I'd say something and youth would all go, oh, and I'd be like, what? You know, it's like I said damn or something and they'd go, oh, you can't say that. And I said, I can't? It's like I didn't even know that I wasn't supposed to say that. There are some words that I didn't even know I was not supposed to say. So what God is saying here is we're not to use that kind of language anymore. How serious is this? How serious is this? Let's take a look at Leviticus chapter 24. Now again, this is the Old Testament, but I'm going to bring it into the New Testament also. Leviticus 24, 10 through 16. It says this: Now the son of an Israelite mother and an Egyptian father went out among the Israelites, and a fight broke out in the camp between him and an Israelite. Okay? All right, now this is an Israelite. This is one of God's chosen people. It'd be like a Christian getting in an argument in a fight with a non-Christian today, okay? It'd be just like that. Not that any of us would do that, but this is what happened. The son of the Israelite woman blasphemed the name with a curse. Okay? In other words, he cursed at the other guy as he was fighting with him. Probably said something like, God damn you. Which is like saying, I want you to go to hell. I want to damn you to hell. So it might have been something like that. So they brought him to Moses. His mother's name, we'll go back. Go to the next one, verse 12. They put him in custody until the will of the Lord should be made clear to him. Then the Lord said to Moses, take the blasphemer outside of the camp. All those who heard him are to lay their hands on his head, and the entire assembly is to stone him. Whoa. Say to the Israelites, if anyone curses his God, he will be held responsible. Anyone who blasphemes the name of the Lord must be put to death. The entire assembly must stone him. Whether an alien, a native born, when he blasphemes the name, he must be put to death. Aren't you glad we're not under the old law anymore? We wouldn't have anybody in church this morning. And those of us that had to stone the other person, we wouldn't be able to because we just said the word the day before, just nobody caught us. We are guilty of this, people. We are guilty of this. I hear this all the time. I hear this, okay? I hear bad language coming out. We're to change. We're to change. Let's take a look now at Ephesians here. The New Testament. Remember, Jesus said, I came to fulfill that law. I came to fulfill it. All the Old Testament, I didn't come to do away with it. I came to fulfill it. So this is fulfilling the law here. Ephesians chapter 5, 3 through 7. But among you there must not even be a hint of sexual immorality, of any kind of impurity, or of greed. Remember the one we talked about last week? Shouldn't even be a hint of it. Shouldn't even be a hint like, I wonder if Robert and Tracy are supporting collision. Shouldn't even be a hint of that is what it's saying. Because these are improper for God's holy people. It's improper for those of us that call ourselves Christians. Nor should there be obscenity, foolish talk, or coarse joking, which are out of place, but rather thanksgiving. There should be no obscenity or coarse joking or foolish talk. For of this you can be sure, no immoral, impure, or greedy person, such a man as an adulterer, has any inheritance in the kingdom of Christ and of God. Let no one deceive you with empty words, for because of such things God's wrath comes on those who are disobedient. God's word. Therefore, do not even be partners with him. There should be no obscenity, coarse joking, foolish talk. Wow. And there's another verse that says, you've had enough in the past of doing that. You had enough of doing that in the past. Don't do it anymore. You used to do that when you didn't know me. Now that you know me, don't do that no more, is what Jesus is saying. Don't do it anymore. Yet, we do it. We do it. I see this on Facebook. I see it on Facebook. Some of you that post something that blatantly has the F word in it. Now, it could just be ignorance, or you didn't even realize that, but if you know that and you still post it, the Spirit has to still work with you, has to still convict you. Because here's what it's doing. It's offending other Christians that are out there, and it's telling the world out there that you're just like him. You're just like, so when you get responses back on that, it's the world responding to you. Most Christians won't respond back to that because they were offended by it. They were just kind of like, I can't respond back to that. Has the F word in it. I can't respond back to that. We do that. We do that. Or we post a dirty story or joke or picture that we saw and we repost it. And then if you check on to look at it, then automatically everybody knows that you looked at it. I think. Because I think it comes up to show that you looked at it. Because every once in a while, I'll see someone that I know, and it shows that they looked at this, whatever it was, just going, caught you. Yeah. Now again, this is a growth process, all right? I'm not sitting here coming down on if you were one of the ones doing that, I don't want you to walk out with your tail between your knees. This is the way of God convicting you. This is the way of God convicting you so that you can grow in your faith. Just like when I tell you that you should be giving to the offering, I'm not telling you to give to the offering because I need the money or that Collision needs the money. No one gets paid in here. That's why I have people that give, hope Liz doesn't mind, Liz has a relative that gives every week to Collision. Every week to Collision, because she so appreciates the fact that we care about children in India and that we are helping people out of the church, and she's blown away by that, so she sends her offering to us. I have a son that does that. I have brothers that do that because they're impressed. I just got a $200 check from my youngest brother who struggles to make ends meet, gave a $200 check because he is so blown away by the fact that he said, I gave it to your church because I know that you're helping other people out with it. So I'm only doing this to teach you so that you can be a better Christian. I still have to grow. I still have to grow in my faith. Now there are times, I'm going to be very honest with you, there are times when I hit my finger with a hammer and just automatically, Jesus Christ, then, uh-oh, and I'm looking out to see if anybody heard me. It just like comes out. Just like your old sin nature when someone pushes you. There's times when I hit the person without even realizing that I wasn't supposed to. It's just that old nature kicks in. And it does what it did before. But we should feel some sort of remorse afterwards when we do that kind of, there I go again. Shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have done that. So I'm only teaching you so that we can grow in this. Let's look a little bit more now. Let's look at cursing God. I mean, we looked at cursing, but let's look now at cursing God. Because there's a difference. Let's look at Isaiah chapter 8. Depressed and hungry, they will roam through the land. When they are famished, they will become enraged and looking upward will curse their king and their God. Oh God! And they will look towards the earth and see only distress and darkness and fearful gloom, and they will be thrust into utter darkness. Remember what we heard in the third one? There will be consequences. No one will go unpunished, is what it says in the third commandment. No one will go unpunished. You can't curse God. Let's take a look at Ezekiel chapter 39, verse 7. It says this, I will make known my holy name among my people Israel. I will no longer let my holy name be profaned. And the nations will know that I, the Lord, am the Holy One of Israel. I will not let my name be profaned. And then the last one here, Job chapter 2. So that's a little longer one. I don't know if you're familiar with Job. Satan came to Job and said, God said, you're protected, Job. That's why he's a godly man. And God said, well, okay, then I'll let you do what you want with him, to show you that Job is a man of God. And all kinds of things happen in Job's life. If you are going through life and bad things are happening to you, you need to read Job. Because afterwards you won't feel so bad, okay? So here's one of the things now where it comes time now again with Satan coming to God. Chapter 2, verse 4. Skin for skin, Satan replied. A man will give all he has for his own life. In other words, sure, I've been doing other things, but do something to his body and see what happens. So God says, or just says, but stretch out your hand and strike his flesh and bones, and he will surely curse you to your face. In other words, what Satan is saying unto God, you do something to his body and he will curse you. He will curse you. And this is what happens. The Lord said to Satan, very well then, he is in your hands, but you must spare his life. So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord and afflicted Job with painful sores from the soles of his feet to the top of his head. It was so bad that Job took a piece of broken pottery and scraped himself with it as he was sat among the ashes. His wife said to him, are you still holding on to your integrity? Question mark. Curse God and die. He replied, you are talking like a foolish woman. None of us husbands would ever say that. Shall we accept good from God and not trouble? Question mark. In all of this, Job did not sin in what he said. In other words, all kinds of things happen, but Job never once cursed God. How many times do we have something bad happen in our life? What's the first thing we do? Oh God, where are you now? You don't give a crap about me. If you cared, this wouldn't be happening to me. How many of us do that? We blame God. That's blaspheming God. That's blaspheming Him is what that is. Blaming God for something. We're guilty of that. We're guilty of that. Job didn't. I mean, you should just see all the things that happened to Job. It is incredible if you ever read Job. And he never once cursed God. He said, should we take good from God but not accept the trouble that comes from Him? Should we accept all the good that comes in but blame God for what doesn't come? I know you don't. That's why I can use you for an example. So I can use God. That's part of breaking the commandment. Now, there's also taking oaths. Taking an oath, okay? There's three. There's cursing, there's blaming God, cursing God, and then there's an oath. Let's take a look here, Leviticus 19:12. It says this, do not swear falsely by my name, and so profane the name of your God. I am the Lord. Don't take an oath and then lie. Don't take an oath to me and then lie. Because you're profaning His name when you do that. Deuteronomy 6:13 says this, fear the Lord your God, serve Him only, and take your oaths in His name. I don't know if you know this. This is why the court system has you put your hand on the Bible and say, you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. That's where this all came from. It all came from Him so that we would not dare not tell the truth. Most of us could care less about that. We take that oath and we have every intent of telling a lie. But that's not what it was for. You were taking that oath under God. And God said, we are not. Now look at the New Testament here so we can see. Remember, Jesus came to fulfill the Old Law. So let's look here at Matthew chapter 5:33. Again, you have heard that it was said to the people long ago, do not break your oath, but keep the oaths you have made to the Lord. In other words, don't tell a lie when you're in court when you take that oath. But he goes on to say this, 37. Simply let your yes be yes and your no, no. Anything else comes from the evil one. You shouldn't have to, as Christians, we shouldn't have to take an oath. It should be automatically assumed that we would tell the truth. So when you go to court, the first thing the judge should ask is, are you a Christian? Yes. Oh, you don't need to take the oath. It should just be assumed that a Christian would tell the truth. Is that the case? Are you a Christian? Oh, you're probably the biggest liar. That's what the world would say. Unfortunately, I'm just telling you people, there's something wrong with all of that. There's something wrong that the world looks at Christians like it shouldn't be looked at. Christians should be looked at with respect because we represent Jesus. It should be that no unwholesome word comes out of our mouth. It should be that no coarse joking comes out of our mouth. It should be that we would never lie under an oath, that we would never lie even without taking an oath, that we would tell the truth. That's what separates us from the world. That's what the Spirit was given to us for. That's why Jesus gave us His Holy Spirit to convict us when we do wrong. If you do wrong and are not convicted, it just shows that the Spirit's not there. Because you can't do something wrong and not be convicted. That's the Spirit's job, to convict you. How are we doing in this? How are we doing in this? Now, I'm not here to point the finger at you. If I see you on Facebook and it happens again, I'm not going to sit there and call you out on it and all that. It's just a growth process. But I'm hoping that as a result of hearing that this morning, you're convicted and saying, I need to make some changes. Just like I was convicted when we read the first commandment and said, you're to love God with all your heart. And I was convicted saying, I'm not doing that. I'm not making special time for God, so I had to learn to do that. We all have to learn. So I'm hoping that you're learning. Now there's one little thing, it doesn't have anything to do with the message, but I ran across it. And I want to teach you on it. Okay, you can close it here, okay? I see this also on Facebook, where you're putting the latest horoscope reading down. I see that from many people. Today's horoscope reading. I'm on, what the heck am I again? I'm Sagittarius. I'm a Sagittarius. You wouldn't believe how many people believe in the signs. That if you're Sagittarius, this is what's going to happen and all that's going to happen. And they put on, I just read my horoscope. Someone's going to come into my life that's going to knock me off my feet. And you go, holy smokes, I can't wait to meet this person. Especially if you're single, okay? If you're single, you're just looking for, all day you're looking for that person. Or you get these fortune cookies. You get these fortune cookies. Now, when we go to get a fortune cookie, I'll never take mine. Everybody fights for mine. Like they didn't like theirs, so they want a mine now. And then they read mine and go, oh, this is the one I should have got. Good things are going to come into my life. This is the one I should have got. I was supposed to get this one. I just want to share with you on it. And some people, I've seen Christians do this, unfortunately. Unfortunately, I have seen Christians do this. I've seen Christians go to palm readers at the palm readers, or the leaves, or whatever the heck they do in there. And then come out like hail. Oh my God. What? I'm only going to live to be like 30 or 40 years old. What? She read my poem and it's told me that I had a short life and they're dead serious about it. It's like, people do this, okay? People do this. I should say, but I have a grandmother that she died many years ago, my wife's grandmother. I only got to meet her one time. She came to her house. Now, I was a Christian at the time. And I came home, and I saw all my kids there, and she had tea leaves And she was reading tea leaves for my kids. And I'm kind of like, my wife's saying, "You're allowing this?" "Oh, don't pay attention. She's just an old woman and she believes in this stuff." It's kind of, "Yeah, but my kids are going to believe in that too." It's kind of like, yeah, tea leaves. Like, how do you do something? So I want you to just see this, okay? Isaiah chapter 8, verse 19. Just ran across this when I was doing my study. "When men tell you to consult mediums and spiritists and whisper and mutter, should not a people inquire of their God? Why consult the dead on behalf of the living? If you want to know whether you're going to get somebody into your life, ask God, not the horoscope. What do you think is the truth?" I said, should we not be asking God instead of looking at a fortune cookie and believing in it? We should be asking God instead. Just a little side note. That was free, by the way. Okay? I'm not going to charge you for that one. Worship team, come on up here. Now, I know this message wasn't for everybody, okay? But I know that there's some people that hopefully God convicted you. But that cross is for everybody. This cross is for everybody. This represents Jesus right here. It's kind of like, why go to a horoscope when you go directly to God? This is your opportunity to go directly to Jesus to share what's going on in your life. And then allow us as fellow Christians to lay hands and pray with you. That's what the cross is for. Let's worship now, and let's use the cross for those of you that have things going on in your life.